All right. Here we go. All right. So, to start off, we're going to summarize chapter 1 a little bit. So, in this first chapter, she goes and outlines the major themes and theories of the book. The theory is that there are two types of mindsets, one being a fixed mindset and one being a growth mindset. So first, the fixed mindset is that when people believe that their qualities are set in stone from birth, that they cannot be improved upon, and you can't really change anything about yourself from birth. So things like intelligence, personality, creativity, all those traits, you can't develop them and you can't change them. You just are born with them. The next mindset is a growth mindset. So the growth mindset says that you can improve on those qualities through your effort, and everyone has different personality traits, obviously, but you can improve on those individual traits that you don't think that you're very good at, and it's not something that's set in stone. One quote that I really liked from this chapter was that the other thing exceptional people seem to have is a special talent for converting life setbacks into future successes. So I think that really applies well with the theme of the first chapter, because it shows that if you when you fail, as long as you have a growth mindset, you will be able to convert those failures into successes, and not just fail and be done with it. And that you can do things that you don't think that you are very good at to start. You can develop those skills and become better at things. And I think that quote really shows that that's possible. All right. So summary of chapter 2. So she goes a little deeper into the mindsets and the consequences of having these mindsets in chapter 2. So first of all, for the fixed mindset, people with fixed mindsets tend to not grow much over time. They will not grow because they believe that that the qualities that they have are what they have, and they're not going to try anything new. And they also think that the things that they are born good at, they don't have to really work hard to improve. So that's obviously not something that you would want in that. Another thing that happens to them is that they spend a lot of time rebuilding their ego. Their fixed qualities kind of determine who they are, which makes them real dependent on the results that they get out of things, which leads you to the next point, which is that they are a slave to their results. So when people with fixed mindsets don't do well at something, they failed, they kind of are down and out of it because of that. And when they succeeded, they feel like they're superior to other people because that's just how they were born, and they're better than other people in those things that they do good at. Another thing they do is they make a lot of excuses. It's never their fault when they fail. They blame everything else other than looking at ways that they can grow from the failure. Then the consequences of having a growth mindset, first off, is you get major growth over time, which is kind of the opposite of the fixed mindset. You continuously improve, and which leads to major growth and development of all your personality traits and skills that you have. You won't have a fragile ego with the growth mindset. Failure doesn't define who you are. Failure is a thing that can be overcome, and you can just develop into a better person because of that. You become more determined. You got a passion, and you stick to it, and you keep going even though you might fail along the way. Having that is a thing that comes from that growth mindset. and you become more independent, your failure or success doesn't define who you are either way. You're going to be okay with the outcome of what happens to you. So one of the quotes that I really liked, or that I thought applied well to chapter 2, was, "The problem is when special begins to mean you're better than others." So in this fixed mindset, when you believe that you were born being really good at something and you don't have to work for it to be better, and you think that you're better than others because of it, that's obviously something that you don't want. And I think it's a good consequence of what happens when you are fixed-minded, and it just shows that you need to have that growth so you can now know that you still need to work hard and you still need to improve that so you can be the best that you can be, and not just better because of your talent or your trait that you're good at. And then the last part of chapter 2 shows to define failure. I define failure as, for me, when I don't meet the expectations that I set for myself. So if there's something that I wanted to achieve and I didn't make it to that, then that's considered a failure for me. Or if I'm given a task to someone and I don't meet their expectations, that's something that I consider a failure as well. Few times where I've had a failure that has been caused by having a fixed mindset one would be in my high school Spanish class. I wasn't doing very good to start off, so I kind of just gave up on it. I didn't really put in the effort that I was needed, and ended up not doing very well in the class because I just figured, why try and still do bad when I can just not try and still do bad. So that was kind of my mindset, and that's obviously not the mindset you want to have. One example of failing, when I failed, that was influenced by a growth mindset, was this summer I worked with Admirals, and I was trying to sell flex plans, and I wanted to sell 10 flex plans, only ended up selling 5, but I think it was a good failure because I realized that it was a little more difficult than I thought it was going to be, and I thought that it was still good for the amount of time I had and the amount of resources I had, and I still, at the end of the day, felt like I did the best that I could do. So it wasn't, it was a failure because that's what I had set out to do, but it wasn't a failure because I still learned a lot from everything that I did there. So, yeah, that's chapter 1 and 2 for the mindset.